Welcome back to Alien Chronicles. They erased our names, but not our will. From the wreckage of their arrogance we rose, and with one broken blade we reminded the stars who we were.
They thought we were broken, forgotten, weak, but from the moment they took our skies, we began forging blades in the dirt. The air above Tarvin's mining zone shimmered like a mirage. A burnt orange haze cloaked the horizon, rising from the planets. Cracked surface like smoke from an old wound. Lieutenant Karanovin stood motionless on a slag tower, clutching her rusted rifle. The once fleet pilot had been reduced to watching over ore convoys and hungry men with hollow eyes. They called her security chief now. A polite way of saying she was here to keep the miners from dying too fast. She squinted at the distance. Number. Birds here. Just drones. That sound, a low buzz buried beneath the wind, set her teeth on edge. She clicked her comm. Zone 12, report in. Anything on long range? Static. Then a terrified voice. Ma'am, they're here. A tremor rippled through the metal under her boots. Kara spun, eyes wide, just in time to see the sleek bodies of Consortium Hunter drones burst through the smog. White, polished, beautiful things made for killing quickly and cleanly. They weren't supposed to be here. Tarvin wasn't a priority. Not worth fleet attention, but maybe it wasn't the ore. They were after defensive positions, all of you now. She shouted. The guards miners in uniform stumbled into place. Most hadn't fired a live round in years. One raised his rifle and was blasted back in a shower of red. Another barely screamed before being sliced by a beam, and then the storm changed out of the slag. A blur of motion erupted, a figure moving. Like chaos. Armor mismatched, patched with old ship plating and scorched fabric. A helmet with a broken visor. In his hands, a blade not steel, not plasma. Something else, rough, jagged, glowing faintly blue like the edge of a dying star. He moved. Like wind slicing through trees. One slash, and a drone crumpled. Another twirl, and two more exploded in sparks. The blade wasn't cutting. It was unraveling them from the inside. The man didn't speak. He didn't need to. Within seconds, the rest of the drones retreated. Not because they were defeated, but because they were afraid. Kara dropped from her tower, gun still raised but forgotten. She approached the stranger, who stood panting amid the wreckage, the blade buzzing softly in the air. "Who the hell are you?" she asked. Breathless, he turned, half his face hidden in shadow. "Name's Rend," he said, voice low, distorted, behind his helmet. "And you're not ready for what's coming." Then he vanished into smoke and silence. Later, back on Earth, they laughed at her. The brass called it trauma, called her delusional scrap blade. Just a damaged drone explosion. Misremembered. She left the room with clenched fists. Not all of them laughed. One general stopped her in the corridor, eyes scanning the hallway before speaking. "You saw him?" "I did." "And the blade?" "It wasn't human or Consortium. It was different." He leaned in. "You'll find him. And when you do, you'll bring it back. Or don't come back at all." Ravik 9 was a dead place. Ghost colony, forgotten after a reactor fire poisoned its skies. Kara landed her shuttle near the old Kung Tower, where children once played in oxygen masks. The silence was thick, broken. Only by the creak of metal and the hum of wind against broken glass. Locals didn't speak of Rend. They spoke of the Wraith, of a shadow with a glowing sword, of a man who bled enemies dry and left symbols burned into walls. She found one, a jagged blade etched over the Consortium emblem. A promise, a declaration he was real, and he was preparing for war. She stared at the mark until night fell. "They thought we were weak," she whispered. Her fingers brushed the etching like a prayer. But we're the storm they never saw coming. The dead wind howled over Ravik 9, Stirring the ashes of a forgotten rebellion, Kara moved silently through the ruins, her boots crunching glass and dried leaves. Every corner of the colony whispered of something that once was homes half swallowed by earth, children's toys fossilized in rust. A place abandoned by the living. Haunted by memory, she clutched her rifle, though she knew it wouldn't matter. If Rend wanted her dead, she'd be dead already. The tracker pulsed again. He was close. She found him standing in the skeleton of a dome, once used for hydroponics. The transparent ceiling had long since cracked open, vines slithering in like ghosts reclaiming their world. He didn't turn to her, but she knew he'd known she was coming. "You followed me," he said, not a question. His voice was calm, but cold. "You saved my life," Kara said, "and 20 more. I had to know why." "I didn't do it for you." "I didn't say you did." He turned then, helmet off. His face was hard, weathered, a slash of a scar across his temple. Eyes like broken crystal, sharp, scattered, unfinished. "Your fleet," he said, accusing. "Was," she corrected. "Until they decided I was better off guarding rocks. And now, I want to fight." Rend laughed, bitter and short. "You? The good soldier?" She stepped closer. "I saw what your blade did. The drones were terrified." "That wasn't fear," he muttered. "It was protocol failure. They'll be back, smarter next time." "What is it?" she asked, nodding to the weapon lying beside him. "That blade, what the hell is it?" He hesitated, then picked it up and held it out. Alien alloy, scrap from the inner core of a downed consortium ship, mixed with Ravik reactor metal, tempered by fire and blood. He ignited it. The blade shimmered, vibrating softly. Not quite plasma, not quite steel. Something in between. "It's not just a weapon," he said. "It remembers." "Remembers what?" "Everything it kills." She stared, unsure if it was a metaphor or something worse. He studied her in return. "Why are you really here?" She faltered. "Because I'm tired of watching us die quietly. Because if someone like you exists, someone who can hurt them, we need you. And I need to know you're not just another ghost story." The silence stretched. Then Ren turned, walking toward a half-collapsed barracks. "Then stay the night," he said. "But leave before dawn. This place, it has rules." Kara followed him inside. The room was lit with old tech and scavenged solar panels. A faded picture hung on the wall, a woman with dark hair, smiling beside Rend. "She was my partner," he said. "Rana. She helped me build the first blade." "What happened?" "She trusted someone she shouldn't have." Kara swallowed, suddenly uneasy. "Consortium?" "No, worse. Human." They sat in silence, both weighed by memories they couldn't erase. As the night deepened, the distance between them shrank. "Why did you really save us?" she asked. He stared into the dim light. "Because I wanted to believe someone else still cared." Later, under a half-roof and flickering power cells, their hands touched. It wasn't soft, wasn't scripted. Just two broken people in a shattered world, clinging to something real. But even in that moment, Kara felt the blade watching, listening outside. The sky rumbled with the sound of an approaching dropship V. Consortium had found them. The next battle wasn't coming. It had already begun. The wind over Ravik 9 changed with the scent of metal and fuel. It wasn't natural. Kara woke to it, first a low vibration in the floor, like the planet itself was bracing for impact. Trend was already on his feet, pulling on his gear, blade humming. At his side, "They're early," he muttered, voice sharp. "You said they wouldn't find us for weeks." "I said they shouldn't, but someone told them." The words hit like gunfire. Kara stood frozen. "You think it was me?" He didn't answer, just stared, not with hate, but with something colder. Caution. You said you weren't fleet anymore, he said slowly. I'm not. Then how the hell did they trace me through 3 dead colonies and a blackout zone? Kara shook her head. You don't get to turn this on me. I saved your people yesterday and cost me the last safe place I had. He pushed past her, and she followed, fury rising behind her ribs. Outside, the sky was already on fire. 2 consortium dropships descending fast, flanked by surveillance drones. The settlement's defenses, makeshift at best, sputtered to life, EMP mines buried in gravel, pulse rifles mounted on rusted railings. Ren's team, half-trained, all wounded, scattered to position. Kara grabbed a rifle and joined them. You're still here? Ren called from a rooftop. Until they're not. When the dropships landed, the assault was immediate. Drones swarmed in arcs, energy blasts raining down like hail. Kara dove behind cover, returning fire. She saw Ren leap from a roof, blade spinning in a deadly orbit. He cut a drone in half mid-air, rolled, and gutted another before it even fired. But he was slower this time, not tired. Hesitant, Kara saw it. The moment he froze. One of the drones wasn't armed. It hovered, blinking, almost trembling. Ren raised his blade, but his hand shook. He didn't strike. A blast hit him in the back. Not enough to kill, but enough to knock him down. Kara didn't hesitate. She sprinted across the open square, bullets slicing the air around her. She tackled Ren behind a barricade, taking the brunt of the next shockwave on her shoulder. You freeze again. You die, she growled. He winced, eyes dark. It looked like her. The drone, its movements. They're using mimic codes, using Rana. Then cut the memory and fight, or everyone here dies. By the time the battle ended, the ground was littered with twisted metal and blood. Half of Ren's fighters were dead. The dropships fled. One of them wasn't consortium. They carried a different marking. One Kara didn't recognize later, as they buried the bodies. Ren spoke without looking at her. I didn't think I could break. Again. You didn't break, Kara said softly. I hesitated. That's enough. The fires burned low. The sky turned violet with dusk then. Kara's come, which she'd kept disabled since leaving Earth. Beep Tren's eyes narrowed. She froze. Me explain. Explain how a fleet channel was still active in your gear? He said, stepping back. It's not what you think. You think I'm stupid? I was tracking threats, not you. I swear it. His blade was in his hand. She stepped back too slowly. Did you lead them here, Kara? No, I wouldn't. Because someone did. And the only new variable in this hellhole is you. A long silence. Neither moved. Neither blinked then. Ren turned his back. Get out. Ren, I said go. She wanted to argue, but he was right. Something about her had pulled this hell down on their heads. She had to find out what. Without a word, Kara disappeared into the night. Alone again as she left the ruins behind, the wind carried one last thing. Ren's voice, bitter and cracked. They always betray you in the end. But he didn't know that Kara Novin didn't run from guilt. She ran toward Warkara. S shuttle groaned as it tore through the lower atmosphere of Vos Theta, blacklisted moon buried beneath storm clouds and magnetic interference. No signals. Came in or out, that was the point. The last known transmission from this place had been 10 years ago. One word, alive. She had spent days in the dark, tracing corrupted files and encrypted pings. There was a single consistent anomaly in every location Ren had fought, something no one noticed, but Kara did. And it led her here into the forgotten void. She landed in a valley of shattered metal. A consortium relic ship lay half-sunken into the ground like the skeleton of a god, torn open mid-airfall. No survivors listed. No logs, no patrols. It wasn't just hidden, it was erased. And that meant only one thing. It had something they feared inside the ship. Darkness reeked of rust and time. She found bodies, both human and not. Bones of old rebels, fused tech, cables winding around. Ruined terminals like strangling vines. The deeper she went, the more gravity fought her, as if the ship didn't want to be remembered then. At the core, she found a chamber thrumming with energy. Blue pulses, liquid light veins carved into the walls. At its center stood a pedestal, and resting on it, dormant and beautiful, the second blade. Twin to Ren's, sharper, hungrier, but she wasn't alone. Ren stepped from the shadows, dirty, tired, blade already drawn. "You followed me again," he said, voice strained. "You followed me this time," she replied. "You wanted to know if I was the traitor. I don't know what to believe anymore." "Then believe this. If we don't work together, this thing stays buried, and they keep killing us." He looked past her at the blade. "This is where it started," he said quietly. "Me and Rana, we found this ship. We took one blade, left. The other, afraid of what it meant." "What does it mean?" "That the blades aren't ours." Kara frowned. "Explain." "They're not weapons. They're keys. Interfaces. Alien tech. Something pre-consortium. They bond to minds, adapt to emotions. That's why they hum. Why they remember." She stepped toward the pedestal. "It needs a pilot." "It needs a sacrifice," he corrected. A figure lit up in the center of the room. A hologram, female, alien features, smooth with age and programming. "I am Syra," the AI said. "Core Sentinel of the Velen Directive. You are not authorized." Kara raised her hands. "We're not your enemy." Syra looked at Rend. "One blade is active. The second can be awakened. But not without pain." "What kind of pain?" Kara asked. "Memory transfer. Neural binding. One must give everything. Past, future, self." Rend looked at Kara. She knew that look. He was already choosing to do it. "No," she said, "it has to be me." "No, it doesn't. It remembers." "Kara, I don't want you carrying that. And I don't want to lose you." Silence. Thick. Endless, but time was short above them. The magnetic storm split open. A consortium supercarrier broke through, flanked by stealth cruisers. They'd been followed. Gunkara turned to Syra. "If I do it, will it save them?" Syra's hologram flickered. "It will save some, and destroy many." Kara stepped forward. Ren grabbed her arm. "You don't have to prove anything to me." "I'm not," she said softly. "I'm proving it to myself." She touched the blade, and it screamed. Her body arched, flooded with visions. Not memories of her own, but others. Past wielders. Victories. Betrayals. Every life the blade had touched. A river of agony. A galaxy of pain. When she opened her eyes again, the blade was alive. Singing in her hand, Rend looked at her like she was fire. "Are you still you?" He whispered. She smiled through the pain. "I'm better." Outside, the storm collapsed. The consortium had arrived. And this time, they weren't running. They were going to fight together. The sky above. Earth fractured like glass. Consortium warships blotted out the sun, triangular silhouettes descending with slow, mechanical precision. The orbital grid had already collapsed. Earth's last defense beacon had gone silent 2 hours ago inside a stolen cruiser. Kara Novan stood in full battle gear, the newly awakened blade humming against her palm. It was no longer a weapon. It was alive, bonded to her thoughts, vibrating in sync with her pulse. The neural weight was suffocating, but she held it. She had Teren stood beside her, battered armor tightened across old scars. His blade, older, quieter, responded like a trusted animal. Together, they were no longer ghosts of a broken resistance. They were signal. They were answers. "They'll target the capital hub first," Ren said. crush the command net, drop the towers. Then full purge. Kara nodded. That's what they always do. Decapitate before domination. On the screen, the flagship came into view, a floating monstrosity of alloy and arrogance. The Icarus Ascendant, flagship of Admiral Ilkos, the man who'd ordered the cleansing of Ravik 9, the man who had erased Ren's past and Kara's future. Ren exhaled slowly. We're not ready. Kara's voice was quiet, cold. We don't need to be. There. Ship breached atmosphere. Roaring like a phoenix, set loose, the resistance fighters followed 30 ships at most. Half of them stitched together from old satellites and mining haulers. It looked like a suicide charge. It was a suicide charge. The Icarus opened fire. Kara dove straight into it. The blade in her hand moved before she did, tracing arcs of raw energy that sliced enemy drones in mid-air. Her mind felt split, lit with memory echoes. Each kill, each wound, each cry etched into her skin through the blade Ren fought beside her. Blade twirling, each movement born of pain, rage, and something deeper, love. Inside the flagship, the fight became personal. Kara and Ren breached the core corridor, flanked by flashes of gunfire. Doors burst. Alarms shrieked at the command chamber. Admiral Ilkos waited in silver armor, draped in the consortium's insignia. You think rebellion is strength, he said, drawing his blade a curved, genetically locked artifact reserved for top officers. You think your pain gives you power. Kara stepped forward. No, we give each other power. The battle was vicious. Ilkos was trained, fast, inhuman in his precision. His blade struck Ren across the chest, sending him crashing to the floor. Kara screamed and launched forward, blades clashing like thunder. Ilkos sneered. You weren't chosen for this. You stole your strength, she smiled. No, I earned it. And then she dropped to one knee, let the blade pull her forward. Through him, not his chest, not his heart, but through the control core. He was linked. The blade surged, and Syra's voice echoed once more through Kara's skull. This is the cost. A chain reaction began. The flagship trembled. Alarms twisted into screens. Kara grabbed Ren, dragging him toward the evac port. You said we'd die on our feet, he muttered. Maybe later, she said, smiling through tears. Today we live. The flagship exploded behind them as they cleared the hangar. The blast lit up Earth's sky in silver and crimson. The remaining consortium ships began to scatter, rudderless. No more Ilkos. No more command net. Earth stood, shaken, bloodied, but 3 days later, Kara stood on the rubble of the Capitol Tower, now the first outpost of a new human-led alliance. She carried no title, no flag, just the blade. Now Silente Child stepped forward, tugged her sleeve. Did you win? Kara knelt. No one wins in war, but sometimes the right people lose. The wind carried a single whisper, Syra's last message, buried deep in Kara's mind. They thought you were weak. You are never weak, just waiting to remember who you were. She looked to the stars. The storm was coming again, this time. Earth would be ready.